Harry's wife. No permission granted. Narcissists operate with a huge sense of entitlement. We are access all areas. We are allowed to do what we want, when we choose, with whom we choose, however so we choose to operate. We have no sense of accountability for our actions, because accountability, genuine accountability, is a shackle, a fetter upon control. And as you know, the narcissist must have that control. It shows an absence of boundary recognition. The narcissist walking into somebody's house uninvited. The narcissist turning up at a party to which they were not asked to come. The narcissist borrowing something without asking and never returning it. There are lots of instances where the narcissist will act in a particular way as if they have inherent permissions. This is because the narcissism causes the narcissist not even either think about the necessity of asking or just forms the view, well, the person would agree anyway because they're my best friend, even, of course, this is just a neighbour who has moved in next door a matter of a week ago. The deluded mind of the narcissist, and this is particularly prevalent amongst lesser and mid-range narcissists, is as such that the lessers invariably just go about it, moving through life like a wrecking ball, having no due regard for the necessity of seeking permission, approval, or consent. With the mid-rangers, they may consider it and automatically assume that they've been granted it. Why? Well, why would they not? I'm such a good friend of theirs. They really like me. We're family. We share everything, which of course, though, is a one-way street. And of course, it won't surprise you to find that Harry's wife is just the same, that she operates with this rampant sense of entitlement and does not see that she needs permission. This has been picked up by an article in The Mirror written by Daniel Bird, which tells us Harry and Harry's wife slammed for filming in Buckingham Palace without permission for Netflix. Harry's wife and Prince Harry have been labelled hypocrites for sharing Netflix footage taken near the late Queen's private apartments at Buckingham Palace. While members of the public may be familiar with certain areas of the palace, the Queen and other royals' private apartments were completely off limits, with barely any snaps being shared by the royal household. However, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have been blasted for filming during a trip to the United Kingdom, 2 years after announcing they would be moving overseas. Sense of entitlement, poor boundary recognition, lack of accountability for behaviours, necessity of assertion of control, drawing of residual benefits from the filming. In the official trailer for their explosive Netflix documentary, which airs on December the 8th, the pair can be seen walking towards a set of doors, with 2 footmen preparing to open them. On each side of the room, 2 chairs sit opposite one another, with initials etched into them, signalling that they are the property of a monarch, while a box with Her Majesty sits on the windowsill. However, many have noticed that the scene was filmed on the north side of the palace, directly below the Queen's private apartments, and is only used by the late sovereign and members of the family. Of course, Harry's wife, as a narcissist, doesn't give a fig about that. She's allowed to go where she wants. Not only that, she's also allowed to film it. Since the trailer was released, thousands have flocked to social media to share their frustrations after discovering where the picture was taken. Can you imagine screaming privacy being violated, but having the nerve to bring your own photographer here? Of all places, they are 2 sick people, fumed one. Of course, that individual probably doesn't realise that Harry's wife is a narcissist, and therefore, rather than fuming at her behaviour, one should realise this is to be expected. She's allowed to say, "You mustn't violate my privacy," because she's allowed to say that because her narcissism dictates that that is appropriate to enable her to assert control. However, because her narcissism also deems that she needs some film footage of her pootling around in somebody else's private apartments, she's allowed to do so. The narcissism doesn't cause Harry's wife to go, "Oh, wait a minute, I shouldn't really be filming this, nor be here, so I'm going to back away." No, it doesn't cause her to even think, "Hang on a second, This is a bit hypocritical, isn't it, of me? Here I am violating somebody else's privacy, and I repeatedly scream about the fact that I don't want my own privacy violated. Yeah, I need to show some greater consistency. That simply doesn't happen. It isn't the case that Harry's wife notices those things and then just thinks, bollocks to it, I'll proceed as I wish. Not at all. She doesn't have that level of reflection. Instead, she just acts in accordance with how her narcissism directs her to do so. Namely, she is allowed in this moment, in order to nullify a threat to control, by screaming, violation of my privacy, and you must stop it. And then in another moment, which are completely separate and distinct in the world of her narcissism, she's allowed to go where she wants to get some footage because it benefits her to do so. Returning to the article, while a second person added, it's interesting how they always think it's okay to violate someone else's privacy and then complain about being harassed over the same thing. Indeed, again, that's the hypocrisy of the narcissist, which of course is caused by her compartmentalization. A third commented, but I seem to remember they didn't want any filming inside their own homes. Hypocrites. And again, of course, this is the fact that she's allowed to say, I can film in your house, but you can't film in mine, and she doesn't see that there's anything wrong with that. OMG, that's awful. They shouldn't have released pics taken at private palace places, said another. Meanwhile, the Telegraph newspaper claims that the Sussexes took the picture without permission from the late Queen. Sense of entitlement, lack of boundary recognition, lack of accountability, absence of emotional empathy. A source told the publication that the image was a genuine violation of the Queen's privacy, while admitting that the news wouldn't have taken long to spread around the palace. Usually, those wishing to film at any of the monarch's homes requires permission due to strict protocol surrounding the use of images in the private quarters. However, the publication claims that the image, which was taken in March 2020, was not authorised by Buckingham Palace, with a memo usually being sent to the Queen. The Mirror has approached Buckingham Palace, Netflix, and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. This, of course, all mounts up as part of the video that I released yesterday, whereby it's all backfiring already. The fact that 2 short trailers have come out, and already they have been utilising images that appertain to other events, utilising material that they've not gained permission for, all part of demonstrating the narcissism of Harry's wife. It's no surprise whatsoever. And there's going to be more of this in the actual docu-series. There's going to be the use of images which have nothing to do with them to paint a particular picture. There's going to be the use of images which they shouldn't have and that they should have sought permission to use, and they haven't. It'll be interesting to see if any legal action comes from such activity. That may be one surefire way of an assertion of control by King Charles, for example, over Harry's wife, by using the law. I invariably encourage people in certain circumstances where they have a cause of action, the evidence points to a strong claim, and that there's something worthwhile doing in terms of outcome, that you should use the law where you're able to do so, because the law has teeth against the narcissist. The narcissist may well defend it. The narcissist may well try and suggest that they're not culpable, but at the end of the day, a sensible court will, on the basis of the evidence, obtain judgment against that individual and enforce it thereafter if the narcissist does not comply. And that is, in certain instances, a useful route for people to go down. Whether that, of course, will happen is something that remains to be seen. But what we know will happen is that this docu-series is going to provide us with yet more instances of actions where no permission has been obtained. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.